In today's video, we're going to start the proceedings by grinding off this lovely pink paint that I put on before because we need to plonk a bit more metal on the side. We're going to use this box section and actually weld half of it onto the tank chassis, and then we're going to use the other half to make a frame for the thing that we need to build today. So first, let's weld this bit on there. That's not going anywhere. Now we're going to plonk the bit on top of it and start welding up a frame to be able to make a oil tank kind of bit for the dashboard and the oil tank thingamajiggies. So here's the oil tank, and I'm going to eye it up and kind of make it up as I'm going, because that's just the way I roll. No planning, no cadding, just Rapidor Manchester in. I use this box section. The reason I use this box section is because I had it sitting about. So we're going to weld in this bit, and then we're going to weld in this bit as well. And hopefully, after that, we're going to be able to weld in another bit right there. And bit by bit, well, it starts looking like it's supposed to look like. We're going to cut this angle so we can actually put a bit diagonally like this, and we need another bit yet again to be able to put there so we can mount the filter for the oil to go in and out. So that bit and bob goes there, and as you can see, when all the bits are put together, it'll take a lot of weight. Well, you know, I mean, it'll take like 80 kilograms, so that's fine. So now we're going to cut all of the holes out for the bits that we're going to add on later on for the dashboard, and also the holes for the filter and the oil tank. Then we're going to remove it and cover it in a lovely shade of hammered paint. And as you can see, I've also filled in the pink on the bottom, and we're going to plop it back together, and it looks quite nice and neat. Well, it's neat for now until I'm faffing around with it trying to fix it all later on. But let's get some reassuring taps on there and go onto the oil filter. This one is a high flow one, but it also has a bypass valve in case it all gets a little bit too gunky in there and the pressure gets too high. It's 1 1/4 BSP because it's high flow, but the rest of it's 3/4 BSP, so I had to put that conversion in. This is just a kind of commercial lorry oil filter. Hopefully it'll do the job. We're going to plump it on there like so and jump onto the next bit, which is the oil tank. So this is the same as Chris from the Bracket Factory's been doing. He's been doing a very proper version of his. He's been working on a Meteor project very similar to mine. The link is below, but you're going to see a version that is a little bit more bodgy from me. Anyway, we're going to put 2 outputs here in case I decide to add a priming pump later on, but for now, we're not going to bother. We're just going to grind all the bits and bobs off and just cut a few holes and get welding. But yeah, you should check out Chris's version. It is a lot more proper. He actually makes really fancy circles for this. So I just went to town with the angle grinder. As you can see, I didn't even let it stop before it fell to the ground. Anyway, after we drilled our holes with the step drill bit, we're going to plop the 3/4 BSP fittings. Oh, I found all of the BSP fittings easiest to find from bes.co.uk. They had everything I needed. This is not sponsored. I just thought all of the BSP fittings were from there. It was very cheap and easy to find the stuff. Anyway, after welding the 2 outputs, one for the output of the oil and the other for the oil pump that I may add later on, we're going to go and grind a bit at the top up here for the oil to go back into the tank from the engine. So let's figure out where to plop that in and then weld the coupler right there. So this is I think this is actually a 1-inch BSP. I decided to go 1 inch on the output because it matched up to the pump output on that side. Anyway, you'll see it in a second. You'll see why I've done that. But yeah, after giving it a bit of a clean and admiring the work, I don't think it's that bad. It does the job. We're going to plop a bunch of hammered paint onto it. I realised that I actually called this Hammerite before. It's not a branded Hammerite paint. It's just hammered paint. It seems to be a lot more modern, a lot less brittle, and a lot more hard wearing. No idea where it's from. I found it on eBay and it's very good. But yeah, anyway, now that's all dry, we're going to plop it onto the top of the frame and admire our workmanship. It's looking okay if you squint your eyes. And we're going to plop all the bolts on to make sure it's all fitted nicely and see if the top fits on quite nicely, and that's good. For the hoses, I decided to go for pre-made ones. These are 3/4 BSP because the fittings onto the pump are 3/4 BSP, but I realised that there wasn't a swivelly bit, so I couldn't actually tighten them up. So I decided to get these fittings on the side so I could actually tighten the hoses onto either side of the piece. The problem with this is I didn't take into account the extra length this adds in the dimensions, so it's all going to be a little tight, but it'll work. Anyway, this is the output of the oil pump, and we're going to take the output of that oil pump and use a hose and plop it into the input of the oil filter, like so. So this is a bit of a faff. I'm using a lot of like a goo around it. PTFE goo? I can't even remember. It was like oil-specific goo for threads. I don't know, it was some Loctite stuff. Anyway, now I'm going to go for the output of the oil filter. This is quite a much longer hose because it's got to go from the output like so, and go all the way over underneath all of this bot and wiggle its way over to the pressure regulator that is over here. So I'm going to add another one of those twisty fittings so we're able to actually tighten it up onto the end of the hose and force the hose in. These hoses are very firm, so it does take a bit of wriggling and wrestling, but ultimately it ends up happy days. So this is where the oil is going to go into the engine, but we also need the input of the oil pump to go in. So this pipe goes from the input of the oil pump. Well, it goes from the oil tank to the input of the oil pump. So there's 3 pipes in total. So that tightens up. As you can see, it's quite a tight squeeze with that extra fitting in there that I didn't take account for. This is the scavenger pump. This pumps the oil from the bottom of the engine and pumps it into the top of the tank. So there's actually 2 oil pumps, one for into the engine and one for out of the engine. Anyway, we're going to use a normal kind of like Jubilee clip setup because it's not pressurized, so it doesn't really matter. So I plump that in there like so. And then after thinking about it and chatting to Jamie Fairchild and also Chris from Bracket Factory, I decided to actually put in a tap here because I've put the oil filter underneath the tank. In a vehicle setup where it might be more sensible to put the tank kind of below the filter, but because I was doing it like this and trying to save space, it made sense to actually have it above like I've done. So I've added a tap so it doesn't all slowly drain down to the bottom of the engine. But you just got to remember to use that. But in order to make this work, I had to go off in a 90-degree corner to be able to make it work with all the dimensions I did. It's still fine. It works quite nicely. So yeah, we've got the tap there. And this bit was missing. This is a coupler. I think it's 1/2 inch BSP, and this goes to this pipe, which actually pumps the oil up into the heads to be able to pump it through the rocker assemblies onto the rocker bearings and ultimately the camshaft. So you've got to make sure that's set up. Anyway, this one, because this engine hasn't got the fan poly casing, it's been removed. I've just blocked this off because we don't need to send oil over to something that doesn't exist. So let's pop it over there and hope we don't need it. I might need it, I don't know. Anyway, we're going to put a temporary oil pressure gauge in here for now, just like that. Pop! And yeah, so we can see what we're doing.
So we're now at a point we can try and put some oil in it. It's come up a few times in comments about engine flush. This is sort of like a degreasing, cleaning sort of thing that you put inside of it. This is going to need quite a lot of it. In fact, I've priced it up and it's not that much more than actually just filling it with oil and letting it go through. But the reason why I'm not going to go for an engine flush, which is sort of to clean it out on the inside, is because you're cleaning out all of the oil. And I don't think that's a good thing, especially when this thing's so big and especially in the slow moving kind of ticking overs, when it's replenishing itself with oil in all of the shells and all of the bits and bobs and the rockers and the cams and things, well, you're going to be adding unnecessary wear trying to load the oil back in. So to me, what I think the most sensible thing to do is just let it run over, get some of the old oil out from the bottom of the sump by doing this. So I'm going to splodge a bunch of the old oil out into here. Hopefully there's not that much. Let's just hope it kind of goes in the vague direction, shall we? At the same time it's coming out the bottom, we're just going to put oil in the top. Gluggity, gluggity. Golden. Cool. I'm just putting the oil filter on. Oh yeah. Oh baby, now I don't want to put a hole in the oil barrel because I want to use it again, but oh, look at that goodness. Gonna just turn the tap over and see how quickly it comes out and whatnot. I'm gonna add a pressure gauge to the input of the oil filter. Then if I was indeed wrong about the oil filter, it's gonna tell me. It'll tell me by going, oh no, I'm gonna explode. Whilst I'm at it, I'm gonna take the rocket covers up so we can see what I think we're doing.
I'm taking the rocker covers off so we can see when the oil gets to the top. I've added a bit of extra oil onto the top of here because I don't know how long it's going to take for the oil to travel through a completely empty engine to the top. It's a bit of a test because I want to test for myself how important the added complications of a priming pump really are.
Right, so there is no time like the now to kind of just see if I can squirt some of it out. So having a look here, the oil has gone in. It's gone about, I don't know, an inch down. So there's been quite a lot that's gone into it. Running it without a rocker cover has got an issue. It has got oil dribbling down from this lowermost point, but as you can see, it's actually running into it now. So we've got
quite a lot of fuel oil in there. I'm still yet to see it physically, but I'm going to jack this up so we can get this a little bit more level. It's not supposed to be exactly like that, but it'll be fine. And as for the oil that is piddling out, well, that's actually not that bad. No real smell to it. And yeah, whilst there is some black in this one, of course, I poured out the first chunk because, like, it's probably got a bunch of the really old stuff in it. But obviously, there's a bit of old stuff in there, but I'm going to consider that collateral damage and wire that one back into hither. Anyway, after doing the tests, I decided to have a crack and have a look and see at the health of the spark. And as you can see, well, I mean, what spark? It seems to be a little existent now, but that's the focus for the next video. So the oil tank is now plumbed in, and yeah, it didn't take that long to prime up the whole of the engine. It worked its way to the rockers at the end of a camshaft after about 30 seconds overall of cranking from completely empty to full. As you can see, it's ticking around, and as far as I'm aware, it's going through everything. But having a mess around and testing the ignition system, I can safely say that the whole thing is foobar. Completely foobar, fudged beyond all recognition. So in the next video, I'm going to look at the magnetos on both sides and the wiring harness. This is the exhaust magneto. This is the one that is in charge of the spark plugs on the outside. It is on the right hand side from looking at the fan drive, which is over there. So yeah, this one, after fiddling around and swearing at it for a few hours, is not making any spark whatsoever. So this one, after fiddling with the points and stuff, zero spark, so there's no way of testing further. Test a few continuity on these, and yeah, unfortunately, some of these aren't actually having continuity. So this magneto, got to take it off, have a look around the back and see if there's anything around the back, because there's nothing around the front that is indicative of making it function whatsoever. Around this side, which is the inlet side, there is a bit of a spark on the magneto. However, the cap is a bit crusty, and some of the pins that hold the high tension cables to go to the spark plug, they've completely fallen off, which is not very good. And also on top of that, the harness, the wiring harness, a bunch of the wires aren't actually making a connection. This is not the most fantastic news because, one spark in each of the cylinders, or at least a few of the cylinders, and a mix of it sort of half working would have meant that it could have at least run up a little bit and gone. But no, it's foobar, it's completely foobar, and it needs a lot of work. Luckily, the exhaust side right here, Jamie Fairchild, who I got the starter motor of, has a bunch of these. Apparently these have got plentiful new old stock. I'm going to try and take this off and fix it anyway, but I'm getting one just for, spares and whatnot, because why not? And the other side, the inlet side, none of them are available. Luckily, that one's sort of working. I think it's just going to need a bit of a cleanup. So in the next video, we're going to take this off. We're also going to have a look at a new one. We're going to pull the inlet out, maybe. We're going to try and get a better spark from the inlet. I think maybe, I've set the points, but maybe they could be better. But the biggest problem is the wiring harness. All of these wires go into a big old loom and then get pulled to the side of the engine and then goes down this little long copper pipe, or brass or something, and goes to all of the spark plugs, and then there's another one on the top for the inside. Unfortunately, a bunch of these are not making a connection, which is a common fault and to be expected, but it's blooming annoying. Luckily, Jamie also has new old stock versions of the exhaust harnesses. That's the ones on the outside that connect into this. However, the one that I've got that has got the most broken cables and connections is the inlet, which is on the inside, the spark plugs that are inside the V. There's probably a way of modifying one of the exhaust harnesses to work for the inlet harness, but it's going to be a bit of a faff and it's never going to be perfect. And I've sat here thinking, what do I do? What do I do? So I've decided to bite the bullet and completely swap the spark plugs and swap them for some more modern, like triple-headed spark plug kind of things. That means we can actually make our own braided harnesses. And this means that if one of them actually breaks, well, we can actually just take them off and swap them instead of having to faff around with all of this stuff. So I'm actually thinking of ditching the whole harness setup and going down with those fancy braided old school HT cables from like on the Austin 7. And then a more modern style of spark plug with the twisty bronze nipples on the end that we can twist on and twist off the HT cables. I think it'll make the whole process of working on this engine a lot less of a pain in the derriere. And it'll look snazzy because I think you could get this braided cable in pink.
11 times out of 10, it's more of a faff than you ever possibly envisaged, and this is what is happening here. So it is what it is, and hopefully in the next video there'll be a bit of puff of life, and then we could jump onto the water and stuff like that. So yeah, anyway, I'll see you next time. Toodaloo.